Good morning, everybody. Thanks very much for tuning in. My name's Tam Coyle. I'm the Scottish Coordinator for Independent Venue Week. Obviously, this time last year, we just finished 26 venues doing gigs the length and breadth of Scotland. A fantastic week. This year, we've had to postpone quite a lot of events, although we did do Independent Venue Week last week with some great content and footage from venues like the Glad Cafe and St Luke's in Glasgow and Nice and Sleazy and a few others doing things that they'd been able to film at the tail end of last year. We felt it was best just postponing and getting Independent Venue Week back in a better position to do gigs, which hopefully, if this vaccine rolls out as quick as we're all hoping, will be. I'm not going to put a date in it and just get upset again, but hopefully by late spring, early summer, we'll be able to get back to what we're all doing best. Anyway, today we're going to talk about things we thought about for Independent Venue. What else could we do to fill up some time? And we thought about doing a panel talking to all the people who've been at the sharp end and helping musicians and creatives basically keep alive for the last 12 months. I don't use that word lightly. So I've managed to round up an August panel of some great friends. Thank you very much all for. I'll let you all introduce yourself first, and then I'll go into some pre-prepared questions, and then we'll bang that around the table amongst the six of us for maybe half an hour, 40 minutes, and then we'll open up to questions from the floor. And we've got the beautiful Oscar from Independent Venue Week in the background who'll be keeping us all right. And any questions, just batter them into the chat box, and I'll get round to them, or Oscar will get round to them, and we'll get them hopefully answered for you. Anyway, I'm looking at my screen, and I see Louise from Musicians Union. Good morning, young lady. How are you? What can you do for us?
Hi everyone, my name's Louise Stanners-Pow and I work for the Musicians Union, as Tam's announced. So I work in the Scotland and Northern Ireland office, and we are the trade union for musicians across the UK. So hopefully I look forward to this discussion today, tell you a bit more about what we were up to.
Thanks, Louise. Wesley, our friends from the PRS Foundation in sunny London town. Come in and talk to me.
Hi there. I'm Wesley. I'm a grants coordinator at the PRS Foundation. We're a national charity, independent charity, supporting the creation and promotion and performance of new music. We fund both individual music creators, and we have some funds for organisations. So it'd be good to talk about some of that a bit later on as well.
Thank you, my friend. Tamara, we've actually got a musician on the panel. You wear many hats, young lady. What hats are you going to wear today?
Oh, quite a few. My name is Tamara Schlesinger. I'm a musician under the name of Malka. I run my own record label, Tantrum Records, lecture in music business, and I've also just launched a collaborative collective of all female and non-binary songwriters in Scotland during the pandemic called Hen Hoos.
And that's Hen Hoos. We'll talk to that at length later on. And finally, last but certainly not least, we've got the double act from Help Musicians. Hi, guys.
Hi there. How you doing? My name's David. I work with my role at Help Musicians is a program and outreach officer. So I work with a grant giving team at Help Musicians. And for those who don't know Help Musicians, we offer a lifetime of support to musicians when they need it the most. We support musicians in times of crisis, help with their health and well-being, and also we have grants around career development, which we'll be able to kind of chat about as well later on.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and finally, last but not least,
I'm Ethan. I'm the fundraising and volunteer officer at Help Musicians. So I'm the one who gets all the fundraising and the supporters in to support what David does and helping all the musicians in need.
Right. As I said in our wee green room beforehand, I'm not wanting to spend too much time talking about last year, but it's the elephant in the room. So first question, we'll go around the table on it. How has the pandemic affected you, both as an individual and in the role you do in the music industry? I'll start that. As I said, I'll start with the way my screen's sitting up. I'll start with Louise. How's the MU been helping its 30,000 members in the UK?
Well, it's been an absolutely incredibly difficult year for everybody, and it's been such a difficult year for musicians, as we know. In March last year, most of our members saw their work decimated overnight. So at the MU, we've been helping our members as much as we can throughout this time, this difficult time. But a lot of our work is involved around lobbying government. There's not been enough support for our members, and we've conducted an impact survey which showed that 38% of our members weren't actually getting and aren't getting any kind of government support. And on the back of that, a large majority of our members are considering leaving the profession, which is just awful. So it has been an absolutely incredibly difficult time, and I'm not going to lie, it's been incredibly difficult for everybody. And yeah, it's my job's changed a lot. I'm working from home. I'm sorry if you hear my little toddler banging on the door at some point. It's been it's been an interesting time doing everything online, and just my job's changed a lot. A lot of the nice things, you know, being able to go out and listen to music and hear about exciting people are doing. It's not happening at the moment. It's been difficult, but we're trying to support everybody as best we can and give legal advice where need be, and various support, which I can chat about in a little bit.
Thank you very much. Wesley?
Yeah, on a personal level, it's quite a lot, actually. It's affected me. I think my enjoyment of music and what I enjoy about music is going to see live music. I don't have much of a record collection or sit around listening to music much. I tend to go to gigs, and obviously that's just stopped, so it feels like I haven't really done anything, well, for longer than I can remember at this point. And this double dip, I feel like we're in the second half of it now. It seems worse than the first for me. From the PRS Foundation perspective, just the demand for what we do has just skyrocketed because everybody needs help, and we're seeing so many people who have never previously had to ask for help before, particularly venues, promoters and music organizations who have never relied on funding or had to, and now they're having to navigate what is quite a complicated world, and try and compete with all those people who know what they're doing. And just as a charity, we invest in new music, so it's all about people's development creatively and professionally. So in usual times, it's very easy to talk to someone about why they haven't been successful because their plan wasn't quite up to scratch or whatever. But that conversation has changed now to people who really just, they need help to keep a roof over their head. And that's a very different conversation that I'm not equipped to deal with, frankly. I'm not a social worker. But there's some really, there have been some dire stories out there. And that's been very difficult, especially we did do a one-off hardship fund, which we called the Sustaining Creativity Fund, which was just a small amount of money to lots of people. So many difficult situations people find themselves in. So yeah, it's been tough.
Yeah, no, I feel for everybody on that. I'll go directly from you onto our two friends from Help Musicians, and then I'll go back to Tamara on this. So, David, what do you think has been the worst thing for the pandemic for you guys? Help Musicians' workload must have went through the roof as well, presumably, like everybody else around this table.
Yeah, I think, first of all, obviously, in a personal matter, it's been very difficult, on the same boat as a lot of people, and it's been difficult being cut off for your friends and your family. And yeah, there's been definitely the demand in the service has went up, but as an organisation, the demand has went up, but we've managed to kind of provide a lot of support for people in these difficult times. It's just a shame we're having to do this support in such dire times. But what we done right at the very start of the pandemic, we can identified very quickly the impact this was going to have. So we developed a one-off hardship fund payment, which is a payment of £500 to people. We also made the process a bit more streamlined and easier for people to kind of access as well. At the same time, when we were rolling out this hardship fund, we worked in partnerships with other organisations. So we worked in partnership with the Incorporated Society of Musicians, Divers Academy, Music Managers Forum, the Music Producers Guild, the Musicians Union, and UK Music to develop an online resource called coronamusicians.info. And this is like a living, breathing, resource that's getting updated daily. Whenever there's a change to anything, whenever there's a change to the government support, or whenever there's a new fund to like Creative Scotland, PRSF, all this data is there. And the point of that was for all these organisations to kind of pull together because there's so much information now getting thrown around out there. So we just try to pull it all into this one kind of central place where people could kind of access it, you know. And as the kind of lockdowns and the pandemic, you know, kind of worsened, we kind of, you know, we had a hardship phase 2 support, which was there was kind of 2 strands to that. One strand was for people that were maybe falling through the cracks of support. Another strand was a top up of people's universal credit as well. So they were getting a percentage of that universal credit. At that time, as we were kind of rolling out all that funds, we decided to kind of increase the number of creative funds that we've got. So that's the funding around careers. We also had to kind of change those funds to make them more relevant to the climate that people were in. So for talking's sake, we do it differently. Only 1% of the budget can go to marketing. We kind of removed that and just said if you need help just to get something out and to market a release, you can kind of do that. There was also support and some funds to cover international travel and kind of touring. So we tried to encourage people to, you know, because they couldn't do that. So we kind of exploring ways to use streaming technology and to get their music out and stuff like that. And since last year, the number of musicians that we've helped across the UK on our hardship fund's been over 19,000. And through our kind of programme for the career development stuff since the pandemic and kind of Q2, we've awarded 473 musicians with kind of creative funding as well. That being said, you know, it's been one of the positive things that's kind of happened. I think, you know, the music community and the music industry have all been working collaboratively and working well together to try and, you know, a united front. And especially when, you know, there's chat of, you know, furlough schemes ending and government support being pulled. I think, you know, people at the MU, UK Music, AIM, they've all been very vocal in how that shouldn't happen, and we've been supporting them in those efforts as well. And as well, like, you know, in such difficult times, the levels of support that people are giving us as well has been really awesome, and my colleague can kind of chat about some of that stuff that's been happening.
Yeah, no, it's one of the, I suppose, positive things that we've experienced from the pandemic is just seeing everybody pull together and really kind of come together to support the music sector. We even get sort of outpourings of unsolicited support from people, and that means that we can keep funding musicians, that we can keep supporting them. So that's been really, really positive for us to see, even though we're in this sort of difficult time, that everybody understands the value of music and wants to sort of support musicians.
Yeah.
Fantastic, thanks for that.
Just kind of quickly to add in as well that we also worked with Creative Scotland collaboratively on at the end of last year, we helped administer their hardship fund as well for them.
Yeah.
So that was really great, and another bit of good support coming to musicians in Scotland as well, just before Christmas when it's really needed.
Yeah, and for those listening in, to be fair, my good friend Jamie at Creative Scotland would have been on this call today, but to be honest, he's just so busy because they've done that new venue sustainability fund this week and he's too busy assessing grants. So he apologises for not taking time to call, but he did help me assemble this panel. So thanks very much, Jamie, and I'll let you get back to your marking. So, Tamara, anything else you want to add at this stage?
I suppose just from the musician perspective, I was just launching my album and was just about to tour. I ended up pulling my London dates just before lockdown happened because I just didn't have a good feeling about it. I played Mac Arts 2 days before we went into lockdown. So that way of the traditional route of promoting your music is so much through touring and festivals, and so many artists have lost that, their income, their revenue streams, but also just the way to traditionally promote your releases. So I think all of us have found that such a struggle to look at, and that's why I launched Hen House. I think maybe I'll talk about that later, but
yes, please.
Yeah, so
okay, well done you. I said I was going to go on more about how you lot have all been so supportive to your members, because particularly as somebody who still manages, obviously I've got 5 or 6 artists to manage, and as a working DJ, you're talking about losing gigs tomorrow. I'd actually, over the years for my sins, because I've managed to build up quite a repertoire, but I'd actually 40 festival events. That's the first time I'd ever hit 40 festivals over 5.5 months as DJing, and I lost every single one of them. So it was heartbreaking, and to lose my annual trip to South by Southwest and my trip down to Great Escape, etc., etc. It's been hard to reconcile that. Although, as we've all touched on, it's been great. We've all learned how to use Zoom. We've all learned to use Microsoft Teams, and it's be able to. And I spend too much time sitting at this wee desk, looking at my screen and talking to pals. But it is sometimes a boost and a relief to make sure your pals are okay, and just reaching out to folk. I've got a wee list of people I've made over the last few months that I know are staying myself, are staying alone. So I make sure I phone them all once a week, every 10 days, just checking people are okay. And as the MU and Help Musicians and people have said for months, it's okay to not be okay. Make sure you shout out and reach out to friends. Nobody is an island, as we all know. So touching on, as I said, let's get last year out the road. Forget last year. It's a bad dream we're all going to wake up from eventually. We're now in 2021. We're now seeing folk getting their vaccines in, more on the vaccine. But how are we going to, what's the things we're looking forward to getting back to? And how do you see things developing for your job over the next 6 to 12 months? What's the positives for 2021? Anybody want to touch that one? I don't want to keep going back round my schedule. Everybody, feel free to shout out. Don't be shy.
I'll jump in.
Cheers, Wesley.
So, just from, I have to start in last year. Sorry, but I'll be quick.
Yeah, of course.
Just because it did. What happened with all the lockdowns and stuff obviously didn't just affect people who had plans in the making. It stopped people in their tracks, as Tamara sort of mentioned, who had already started what they were planning on doing. And so we've been really flexible. We've set up a whole separate system for our grantees to be able to update us on any changes that they have to make in line with government guidance, or if they realise what they wanted to do is no longer possible, they can do something else instead, and they just have to run it by us. We approve it and they do it. And so I think, yeah, with the vaccine on the horizon and hopefully some sort of return to maybe a social distancing live stream hybrid show type thing, we can actually start to see this whole backlog of incredible projects that we've been funding actually come to light and see and happen. And I think that will happen soon, hopefully. And with everyone pivoting to live streams, lots of people have been able to do that, and that's great. That unfortunately doesn't work for everyone, and there are lots of people out there who don't have access to that technology and haven't been able to use it. So again, it would be great to be able to get back to that world and see those people being able to actually make their projects happen.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. The whole way we've gone into live streaming, I mean, some of the shows I've seen, particularly obviously with Independent Venue Week just going to a streaming format this year, there was over 100 venues in the UK went and did various gigs, and some of the stuff we saw, I mean, I've got to shout out, really praised for the guys for the Glad Cafe in Glasgow, who managed to, they'd been filming stuff sort of on the autumn, November-ish, and they managed to stream 7 gigs last week, and the musicianship, the quality was stunning, as well as other streams. You see people being able to pivot and work the technology. I've got to have a shout out again. Twilight Sad in Glasgow done a gig from the Oran Moor a few weeks ago, and they used camera angles. They did this. They showed it from various lights of day, and it was absolutely. It wasn't just standing looking at stage. It was magnificent what they did. And my good friends at Mogwai, they've got one next weekend. I'm really looking forward to launch a new album. Just like you say, Wesley, we've just got to find a way of making this work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also along those lines as well, people like Wide Days and Audioactive who do Celtic Connections were so quick to pivot to do live streams and still make international opportunities for music creators in basically an impossible situation, which was really incredible to see, to be honest. So yeah,
now, I must confess, every year at Celtic Connections, I run from gig to gig to gig, and you never feel you see it all. To be able to watch everything this year, I just paid my money like everybody else. I think he said last night, Donald put out a video, 27,000 people bought the Celtic Connections pass, and I managed to watch over the last 2.5 weeks. I think I watched every single show, and to see old pals like Kareem Polwart absolutely ramming it, and Admiral Fallow and Roddy Hart with his Rock and Roots review. What a show he put on at the weekend there. And I thought Celtic Connections was an absolute success for streaming platforms in general, because like you say, we all have our dark days, and to see things like that and just keep you cheery by the gift of music was magnificent. And hats off to the whole Celtic Connections team for repivoting and doing something. Same with, you mentioned Wide Days there. Wide Days, when Olaf and Michael and team went last year, I thought, watching everybody all day on streams, you daft. It actually worked really well. And fair play to them.
It's really difficult to do and make it engaging and capture an audience because there's so much noise out there with everyone doing live streams. When it goes well, it's really commendable. So
yes.
Yeah, I think like from us, we're going to be announcing pretty soon some more, another round of Do It Differently, another round of transmission funding. So those kind of funding streams, Do It Differently is around kind of recording, kind of releasing music. And that funds there to kind of help support that. It also has a holistic and well-being aspect to it. We give you kind of business advisors and stuff that can help you with your kind of strategy, whether that be direct to fan sales or around more kind of legal and licensing kind of support. And then the transmission fund's all about kind of learning and development. So if you have a skill that you want to kind of, let's just say you're a musician and you want to pivot into more kind of like producing and stuff, there's that fund can help, enable you to kind of learn those skills. So we're going to be announcing some more stuff of that. It's still going to be under the kind of COVID kind of banner just now, just because, we're in lockdowns and travel restrictions and stuff are still there. So for the next few months anyway, our funds and stuff, how we're operating is going to be, it's still going to be with that under that umbrella, kind of sadly. But in terms of how things are looking forward, we're just hoping, like all these kind of vaccines and stuff's rolling out and all these kind of trials for how gigs are going to work. We just hope they're a success, and we're supporting full square behind all the organisations and stuff that are out there kind of leading on that.
Yeah. And maybe with a transmission fund you'll find a new Joy Division.
Tam,
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Tam, I just wondered if I could go back a wee tiny bit. I know we don't want to back too much, but I'm just aware that I didn't really kind of give a full overview of the kind of support that we've been given to our members.
Okay, Louise, I'm not going to come back to you over the next plenty of time, don't worry.
No, I just wanted to mention some of the work that's been going on because I didn't go into a lot of detail a moment ago. So it was just to say that we did launch a hardship fund as well at the MU, and you can still access that if you're a member. So if you're struggling financially, get in touch. We also introduce a subs holiday as well for our members who are struggling. So if you're struggling to pay at the moment for your membership fees, again, get in touch. It's really important. And we're offering a lot of advice and support. Sign up to our coronavirus emails if you haven't already. You don't have to be a member to do that. And it's a really good resource for news, guidance, anything that's changing. It's changing so rapidly, just to give you a bit of support in anything that's happening and the work that we're doing as well to lobby. And also we've got a number of workshops that we've got on the go at the moment that you can access as a member. So things like guided meditation and things on legal seminars. So if you want some advice on contracts, that kind of thing. But there's lots of ways that you can connect with other members as well if you're a musician. So get in touch and, connect with other members at these events and that kind of thing. Just obviously talking about aspirations for next year, or this year, sorry. This year, hopefully. I keep saying next year, but we're already in 2021. But I mean, obviously, I cannot wait for the return of live music, and we hope that our teaching members as well are able to get back to teaching face to face. We've got a large portion of our members who teach, and that's really difficult as well. Everybody's had to completely adapt the way that they work, and it'd be lovely to just focus on more of our proactive activities at the MU as opposed to these kind of reactive difficult times that we've been under. Also, just to touch on as well, sorry, but needless to say, Brexit's a really big issue for us at the moment, and looking forward, it'd be great to see a kind of reciprocal agreement between the EU and the UK to allow our musicians to be able to tour more easily as well. So that's something looking forward, aspirational. I'd like to see in in the next coming months. But we'll still
Yeah.
continue to lobby on behalf of our musicians, and lobby for our musicians passport, and ensure that we want our members to be financially stable so that they can actually continue to work as musicians when there's work available, and be continued during this difficult time.
Yeah. No, thanks for that, Louise. Obviously, I'm well aware of the sterling work that the Musicians Union do behind the scenes in terms of, as I said, it's vast membership. And to be fair, you've got the force of nature that is Horace Trowbridge as your head honcho these days. And the man just never stops. So I'm really looking forward to see him. I know he's appearing in front of the streaming inquiry next week at Westminster. And I've got it in my diary already. I'm really looking forward to see Horace tearing a few people a new one, for want of a better term.
Yeah.
As I know he will.
I think it's just to kind of add to the kind of support that I was kind of speaking about is what's known as a creative program. So that's the funding around your career and your career development. The stuff that's continuing all the time and doesn't stop as a health and welfare support. So that's a service there if you're ill, you're unable to kind of work, we can help with your living costs, pay those kind of utility bills. It's really going to stop someone falling into destitution. We can help with bespoke kind of medical conditions. We work with our partners at the British Association of Performing Arts and Medicine, known as BAPAN. So there's some, like we said, there's some maybe physiotherapy, there's some stuff around, like for example, vocal rehabilitation and that type of thing. And we also have a 24/7 mental health support line called Music Minds Matter. So when you call Music Minds Matter, that can be for anyone working in the music industry. It doesn't have to necessarily be for that kind of crisis point. It could also just be somebody for a listening ear, some emotional support at that time. But it's also you're speaking to a trained counsellor, and what that can also do is if there's follow-up support required, then we can facilitate follow-up counselling sessions if that's what's needed. So again, what we're going to do, I believe after this, there's going to be some links to the stuff that we kind of spoke about, to the different bits of support. And after this, we'll be putting some stuff out on social media, what we kind of spoke about, and we'll be tagging IVW and that as well. So just
thanks very much, David. I just want to say for those watching, whether it's via Facebook or the YouTube channel or Independent Venue Week channel, whatever, that nice guy Oscar is basically recording this. It will be up, so don't worry if you hear something today and you thought, I wish my friend had heard this or so and so. It will be available for streaming and looking at live. I'll put a link around the database later on today as well, so you can watch it back over the weekend or sometime next week or ever. Because as I said, there's a few folk in touch with me this morning saying they wanted to watch this live, but they had childcare issues and they couldn't go online at the same time. So it will be available for looking at later on. All the pearls of wisdom that the people around this forum are passing out to you, you can look at it later on. Thank you very much, everybody. As I said, to go back to people who actually got off their bahookie and done something, as well as being a musician for the last few years, Tamara, tell me a bit more about Hen's House, because this is something you've just set up recently and managed to get support from Creative Scotland, isn't it? I saw a fantastic video on the Creative Scotland newsletter talking about the work you're doing with Hen's House. So if you want to touch on that and expand on that a bit more, please.
Yeah, sure. So, I guess for a while I've been looking at sync as my revenue stream. I've been playing live. After having my kids, I've toured less, to be honest. So as the pandemic hit, I was looking at other ways I could carry on making music, and I'd set up the studio in my house, and I was looking to write more to brief. And then I thought, well, I'm not the only person in this situation. There's so many artists that can't tour right now. We can't connect. I think you miss that connection and collaboration of being in a band and being together in a room writing as well. And so I had this idea of launching Hen House, particularly if we look at the stats of women in music, it's pretty dispiriting. I think something like 17% of writers signed to publishers in the UK are women. And so the idea behind Hen House is to collectively collaborate to brief female songwriters across Scotland. And we've got people like Karine Polwart, Stina from Honeyblood, myself, Carly Easton, the list goes on really. And that launch, we were lucky to get the funding from Creative Scotland, so it's funded and the writers are getting some revenue stream just being a part of this project. And it's going really well, and I think it feels like we're all, I think we mentioned earlier about pulling together, and there just feels like this community between us, and it's really supportive, and we all have a focus, we all have a purpose, we're all connecting with each other, and we're doing these Zoom meetups for listening parties to the songs, and yeah, it's just been an incredible experience, to be honest. And also pushing each of us in. Maybe we never thought of ourselves as producers, we just thought we top-lined, or I don't know what we thought we did within the group, and some of us have really moved into more technical roles and pushed ourselves as well. So it's just actually been an incredible experience. And yeah, I think we're kind of 12 songs into the project now. I think we'll all be sad when we've made our target actually, but yeah, it's been it's been really good.
Looking forward to seeing the tour and length and breadth for the UK later on this year, hopefully.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Actually, I think that'd be incredible.
Wesley, is there any particular cases? Obviously, I'm here with a Scottish hat on today. No, like me. If there's any cases of the PRS Foundation of anything you worked with in Scotland over the last 12 months, and anything you're hoping to work with in the next few months?
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, someone Tamara just mentioned. Karine Polwart did something really interesting with Pippa Murphy, which was kind of like a spoken word musical podcast type thing, which was a really interesting kind of way of approaching having to present yourself in a slightly different way. Just before lockdown, actually, we funded an artist called She with a double H, which turns out to be probably one of my favorite things we've funded for a long time. Really incredible electronic music, really original approach, and they managed to actually do their tour just before lockdown happened, I think. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do afterwards, and hope they come back in for some more stuff. There's been loads as well. I mean, like Callum Easter doing the really cool TV special thing, which I don't think is out yet, but that will be out very soon on Moshi Moshi, I think. Yeah, and just seeing lots of the organisations. I know with our funding, we have our open fund for organisations which people can apply for. And then we also have what we call our Talent Development Partner Network, which is a network of 49 different organisations all over the UK. And in Scotland, we work with Sneaky Pete's, Scottish Music Centre, Cryptic, Wide Days, Drake Music Scotland, Red Note Ensemble, who are a classical thing, and Sound Festival. And they all have their own talent development programs. And lots of them have been able to actually do really meaningful work in this time, which has been great to see. Some haven't, because they just haven't been able to do what they want to do. So again, we've been as flexible as we can and just let them hold on to that grant and do it whenever it's safe to do so. Yeah, so I mean, there's been loads really.
Fantastic.
But there's always room for more. I'd particularly say with this, in light of what this is about, and as I mentioned earlier, we've had lots of applications from particularly, I would say, venues and promoters who have never had to apply for help before. If anybody does need any help approaching our grants, because it can be quite like an information overload, just get in touch. You can email me at wesley@prsfoundation.com, which is just what my name is on the screen you should hopefully see. And I'd be happy to answer any questions and help people out.
Thank you, Wesley. I will be putting a link round to with all your details on it, don't worry.
Great.
It's fantastic, as I said, to hear the stuff that PRS Foundation are doing, and obviously remind Joe that Scotland's 10% in the UK. So every time you do launch a new fund, I expect 10% of the grants to come to Scotland.
I don't have the exact figures, but I would hope we're above that, and I think that's quite possible.
Fingers crossed.
I'll look into that and send it to
you. Get back to what we were saying. Go back to I'm conscious of very kindly two people from Help Musicians on the line, so I'll tag team you again. Anything else you're talking about? All these new funds, David Etienne, you're creating. Anybody in particular you're targeting? Because I want to touch on a question on streaming, because I'm seeing, as I said, I've been watching the inquiry from Westminster on streaming, and the fact that the big three labels don't seem, and obviously your YouTubes and your Spotify's, etc., don't remunerate musicians correctly. Anything else we can help to put pressure on to get those figures changed?
Yeah, I think for us, like we said, we've worked with, Corona Musicians. We work in partnership with all the industry bodies to do that. So we're working, with, the ISM, Musicians Union, UK Music. We've signed a bunch of letters of support. Anything that's going to improve the landscape for musicians and anything that's going to, make the environment better, and the organisations that's doing that, that's the people that we will continue to kind of work with as well, and look forward to, like anybody, I think to seeing what these recommendations come out of these the different kind of committees that's been taking place. There's been a lot of great, I think, contributions from across the industry. So I think once that sees its course, there's going to be definitely, I think there'll be some action taken on what kind of comes out for that. But for us, we support the MU's position and stuff on it. ISM, that's what we
like David said, we understand sort of we've had to adapt to sort of live streaming. Obviously, we haven't been able to have fundraisers or events in person this year. Hopefully towards the end we can do kind of hybrid stuff. So we do understand that position that people are in. So like David said, anything that we can support MU with,
Excellent. I said I'm conscious that there's people tuning in today, literally from Stornoway down to the guys from Macarts and Galashiel, so that folk the length and breadth of Scotland tuning in. And I got a wee text this morning. My old friend Charlie Clark from Astrid is not only putting out his first single on Alan McGee's new label today, which is fantastic, but he's due to become a father of twins this afternoon if things go well. So a fantastic double whammy for Charlie. So I promised I'd mention that and get him in. I know he's tuning in this morning if he's not in the hospital already. Oscar, I'm conscious I can only see the 6 screens here. I don't know if there's any chat being formed or enemies come down and put in any questions in the chat. Oscar, are you there? Anything I be talking to people at the moment? Oh, Nick Stewart, I thought you'd been quiet for too long. Can help musicians see more collaborations with Creative Scotland happening in the future? Answer that.
I suppose, definitely. I think I think this is short answer, yes. Long answer, when? I don't know. I think Creative Scotland's definitely got a lot on their plate as well just now. But just like I've been mentioning, I think it's strength in numbers. It's organisations pulling together to offer the biggest possible breadth of support for people, and I think everyone's committed to kind of doing that and kind of working together on that. So I can see stuff happening in the future, but what discussions are happening, I don't know. I'm not privy to the conversations.
Excellent. We're talking about people that have worked so hard and really put their head above the parapet over the 10 months. I've got to say, Nick Stewart, both with his Sneaky Pete's hat on and the work he does in Sneaky Pete's 24/7, 365 days a week, and the work he's done for all his friends and competitors with his Music Venues Trust Act, because Nick's been doing the MVT's man in Scotland. Obviously, I'm IVW man in Scotland, but Nick's been doing stuff for Music Venue Trust, and the man is an absolute diamond, the amount of work he's done. So thanks very much, Nick, for all venues, not just your own. Any other questions out there, Oscar? Okay, I'll just babble on just now. Oh, yes, Jim, live streaming is enormously important for mental health and well-being of artists and audiences right now. Anything that can be done to nurture this stopgap for live music should be encouraged. I can only agree with that. What's your experience been of live streaming, guys? I'll ask that round the table as well. Over the last few months, there's been some great examples of best practice being used.
I would say from a Help Musicians perspective, it's definitely been a learning curve. I think it's a learning curve for everybody using sort of new software. StreamYard, me and David have been kind of using that for the tour. David sort of learned how to do all the back end of that, but it's definitely been about taking on those new skills and finding ways to reach out to people. And there's been positives from that as well. We can reach people in isolated areas that might not ordinarily be able to travel. And obviously we understand that at this time, live streaming is that kind of only engagement you're getting with people when you're in lockdown, when you're staying at home. So yeah, I think it's nice that we can kind of draw a positive from it as well. And going forward, maybe we can have hybrid events where we can still reach out to those people who can't normally come to gigs or maybe access gigs because of accessibility issues. So it's really nice to be able to take something positive from it.
Here.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that. Certainly, I mean, I've always been a bit hesitant about hosting anything online, and I think a lot of us possibly were because we've just had to do it. So, you know, it has been a learning curve, certainly from my perspective as well. It's been just to echo that sentiment. It's been amazing to be able to break down some of those geographical barriers and have different people in the same room that you potentially wouldn't have in the same room because of the, you know, as I say, the barriers. So going forward, I think it'll be interesting to see how we adapt when things do get a bit more back to normal. But I'd love to carry on and do some more work online so that we can reach more people as well. But yeah, just to echo that.
From like a musician perspective, I was involved with Hidden Door, curating an event for them with Pictures Trail and Carla Easton and Capilla as well, and myself. And I hadn't played live with my band since the start of the pandemic, and feeling the beat of a drum inside and playing, you know, I kind of almost had forgotten just how much I needed that. So I think, was it Joe? I think it was whoever wrote that about the musicians as much as those watching these streams. It's so important for us to play live. It's in our blood, you know, and I think you can't overlook how much we miss being together playing music, actually. So I find doing that event so important and so great. And I think the fact that we're managing to still socially distance and play some kind of gigs is really, really great at the moment.
No, I totally agree with you there. I mean, having said, with Celtic Correction stuff being so fresh in my mind, to see the likes of Karine Polwark from the Satinwood seat at the City Chambers with Rab Knox, or to see the gigs that were on all over the city, and to see the smiles and I mean, Roddy Hartberg at the weekend from the concert hall, to see the musicians just absolutely having a blast was just so heartwarming, for want of a better word for it. And see some old pals, first time in months, obviously, in some of the cases, see people face to face over a stream was great.
Yeah, I was definitely skeptical at first, but it's been good to see people do them in really interesting ways and manage to keep engagement with their fan base and all that kind of stuff. As far as nurturing it goes, we've changed some of the guidance to our grants in the Open Fund and things like that, so that you can apply for equipment costs if you need to have a decent live stream, because there's no point doing one if it's not going to look very good. So I think it's up to 20% of the cost of your grant can go towards equipment for that sort of stuff.
Fantastic. There's more venues in Scotland obviously used stuff over the last few weeks and be able to sort out grants, and the likes of Ian Mackey and Willie Knox and their companies, the amount of streaming gigs they've done for people, the length and breadth. And obviously it's not just music as well. To obviously Mother Love is football, and see football, be able to see it, because you can't go and see your team play because obviously the level Clydebank's at. But to see 500-600 people watching their streams on a Saturday is fantastic, and seeing games, excellent. Got to mention Clydebank once and every time I do live. You know that, guys. It has to be done. It's in my contract. Okay. So, any other questions, Oscar? I'm conscious there's certainly people around this table who can talk for Scotland, but I don't see the point in just jabbering on for the sake of it. Nick Stewart again, God bless you. Post-lockdown, has the role of funders changed? Good question. Will venues lessen the commercial sector and seek a little more subsidy from the research and development role? Fantastic. I'll put that round the table to all five of you. So, has the role of funders changed? Will venues... I can't even... Will venues lessen the commercial sector? Christ, put my specs on. Vanity, that's better. Will venues lessen the commercial sector and seek a bit more subsidy for the research and development role? Anybody want to take that on?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, from our perspective, we're not a community arts funder as such. We think of ourselves as a talent development funder, and that happens in venues. So we should be seeing lots of applications from venues, and our grants for organisations can kind of be used to take a bit of the risk away from putting on emerging artists. If you're a venue, if you're worried about maybe you're not going to shift as many tickets as you'd like to, you can apply for a grant to help pay those costs and pay those artists, so that you know it's going to break even. And I think, if anything, throughout this pandemic, at least the knowledge that that's available, I think, has become way more widespread, because I've had so many venues approach who just didn't know that this was available to them at all, that it was a thing, and because they're a commercial entity, they just assumed, oh, I can't apply to that. And we do prioritize not-for-profit organizations, but all of our funding is project based, and so a project can be a not-for-profit project, particularly if you're taking a risk on emerging artists. So I think for us, definitely, we would like to see lots more venues and promoters as well, who I think have been left out of a lot of help throughout this pandemic, can also access our grants for projects based on supporting artists. So yeah, I think so.
Thanks, Wesley. Obviously, other funders are both I'll ask the Help Musicians guys. Any answer to that question?
This, for the role for us is our support's on the musicians and less on organisations and stuff. And in the past, we did support not-for-profit organisations. We used to have a fund called the National Corona Grants Programme, but a few years ago we kind of changed the remit of our funding, and all our funding's now just on musicians. So, but yeah.
Excellent. And obviously, I'm going back as always to my first musician on the panel, Tamara. When you're looking to get funding for one of the projects you're doing, whether it's the Hen House hat or your other hats, so see how if funding rule changes over the next 12, 18 months, and how organisations change as well to work with the client applications, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's really palpable how much these organisations are helping musicians and artists, and Hen House wouldn't exist without the funding. So I think the more we can help from all angles to help the venues as well as the artists, the better.
Excellent. And back to our pals at MU, obviously Louise, MU have always been fantastic at getting the information out and making sure that information is transmitted along the supply chain so that everybody knows, because MU have always been fantastic. I think people forget 30,000 members is a lot of people. So when MU tweet or transmit information out there, it does get to a lot of people very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's the hope. Certainly, yeah, as you say, we've got a lot of different members working in lots of different areas of the industry as musicians. So we've got a lot of different people working in different areas that we cover.
Yeah. And because both your own role and obviously Stuart for PRS is Scotland and Northern Ireland role, I've actually got a few of our colleagues from Northern Ireland on this call today, so I better say hello to Francesca and her team. Thanks for tuning in. But obviously with both the Musicians Union and PRS in Scotland having a Scotland Northern Ireland dual identity, I've got to make sure my Irish pals get in as well.
Absolutely.
I'm not forgetting them.
I know I've missed so much not being able to travel and get to Ireland over this time, but can't wait to get back to Northern Ireland.
Yeah. Another aspiration for the year. Let's get travel working again. Let's back to normal sooner rather than later. I miss going to Stornoway. I miss going to Inverness to see pals. I miss doing gigs around the breadth of the country. Fingers 10 months in Glasgow and Edinburgh. It's far too long. It's driving. I'm getting stir crazy.
Yeah.
Any other questions out there, Oscar? No. Okie dokie. Anything else you guys want to expand upon? I've said I'm conscious I can talk for Scotland, and I frequently do, so it's not just about me. I'm conscious really for you guys to make sure people know what you've been up to and how you're assisting your membership over the last few months, how you continue to do so. Anything else you want to flag up just now? Or any other that's the thing I wrote down my notes. Any other real positive stories the last 12 months, something that's come to the fore that's been life-changing, things you want to share with the panel today? Obviously, that question, as usual, is going back to the MU and Help Musicians and the PRS Foundation. Anything grants you've given out that's really made a difference you can think of? Any great stories?
The positives,
apart from Hen House, obviously.
The positives are a bit difficult because we've not, I've not got hundreds of positive stories at the moment, as you can imagine. But certainly, a lot of our members, as we touched on earlier, are, finding interesting ways to work and collaborating in really fabulous ways online. But just to make you aware that, the MUs, as I mentioned, we're constantly lobbying on behalf of our members, and we've launched a new campaign urging the government to invest in musicians. So there's a number of points that we're calling on government to address, but you can get involved in that. And if you have a look at the MU website, there's lots of points that you can raise, and there are lots of graphics you can use. But yeah, we just want to kind of bombard government with the reasons why we need to invest in musicians. So I would say to get involved in that.
And that's the government's at Holyrood as well as Westminster, obviously. Both lots need a good kicking now and again.
Yeah.
You know, I think for us, it's like we said, I don't know if like it's hard to use the word positive in the current kind of climate, but the work that's been able to be created through, you know, folk getting the support's been quite nice to see. We're getting some nice, obviously, emails from people about the support and stuff they've been getting. There's one kind of Do It Differently recipient is kind of sticking out. It's an artist called Constant Follower from Stirling. So I don't want to go into his story, but he's done some really amazing interviews. So if you check out his social media, you'll see some kind of links and stuff. He's got some health issues, and he's managed to get this kind of record out, and you know, it seems to be going really well. So when you see stuff like that, it just, you know, it's nice to see. And you know, in Scotland we've launched a coaching program for musicians. You know, we think, you know, it's going to, you know, I think it could be a bit a game changer for those involved, and we're looking to see how we can kind of roll out that type of support as well. But for us, it's just, you know, yeah, there's been, as well as the grim times, there's nice kind of bits of light kind of shining through as well.
Yeah, like I was saying, one of the big positives for us has been seeing sort of the whole Scottish music sector coming together and supporting each other, and even with fundraisers or donations or even volunteers signing up. And that's been really positive to see how much music means to people, and that they really want to support musicians, like I was saying. And like, if anybody does want to get involved, just to get in touch with us. We're always looking for volunteers. We're going to have little events for sort of volunteers to get together online and chat and sort of meet each other. And hopefully then when everything is back open and running, they can meet in person. But yeah, if for us, I think the support that we've seen has been one of the most positive things that has come out of the whole pandemic.
Yeah, no, I've got to agree with that. So many people that you knew names behind email addresses, you've got to know them more via Zoom or via Microsoft Teams, etc. And I think another great success story I'd like to share has been the Last Night from Glasgow label in Glasgow, the record label in Glasgow, which has just went from strength to strength over the last year, as well as being Last Night from Glasgow. They've now started Past Night from Glasgow, and they've re-released albums from the likes of the Bluebells and the Trashcan Sinatras. And the membership figures are going through the roof, and it's been such a positive success story. So big shout out to Ian Smith and all his team at Last Night from Glasgow. They're absolutely superstars as far as I'm concerned. Anything else you want to talk about? I know we've got this link to another 15 minutes or so, but I'm not going to just sit and rabble on for the sake of rambling on. So anything else you want to get across just now? Or anybody sitting listening, feel free to add a question and Oscar will send it across to us.
I think one positive thing I think for me is hearing how well received the projects that have managed to happen have been. And I think, like what Tamara was talking about, the Hidden Door live stream thing was something that we funded. I'm not sure if it was that exact one, but yeah, just being able to hear the difference that clearly makes to somebody is all you can hope for, really, out of giving people grants. So that's great to hear. And there have been many stories like that.
Fantastic. I mean, obviously, I'm putting this together with a Scottish perspective because it's Independent Venue Week Scotland, Wesley, but I'm sure there's other things, the length and breadth of the UK, you can flag up, particularly as Louise touched on, rural areas, vetting from Cornwall or from the northeast of England, etc., from deepest South Wales, things that have come forward. It's been fantastic to see folk that wouldn't really get in touch with each other have been in touch over the last 12 months, and people have come out from under their bushes, basically.
Yeah, it's definitely been good for that, in that respect, being able to reach out to those places that particularly Cornwall is a classic one. It's very difficult for us to reach that area for some reason. East Anglia as well, for whatever reason, these places have never managed to access lots of funding, and for now they have. So that's another great positive. And something we always focus on in England is obviously making sure that our funding doesn't just stay in London and that we're reaching all the regions of England. And now we're really trying to branch that out to the other nations that we work with as well, which I don't think is something we've particularly thought about as much as we should have previously. So with Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland, making sure that it's not just going to Glasgow, Belfast and Cardiff, you know, because you have the same problems as England does as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, just again with independent venue hat on, obviously there's 12 reps representing all parts of the country, from myself in Scotland right down to Adrian in east of England, etc. And there's been venues from 50 capacity venues, little tiny places, right up to some of the bigger venues of the country. Have been great, and to hear the guys at Broodmill and Leeds, etc., doing so well and battering out the live streams over the last few days has been fantastic. Yeah,
absolutely. I think I'm still focusing on Scotland, sorry, but like Seal Festival, who do stuff on Isle of Skye and way out in, you know, island stuff, I love that kind of thing. So yeah, more of that would be great. It's great to be able to reach those places.
Well done, my friend. Good to hear. Anything else before I wrap up, guys? Anybody else want to touch anything or retouch anything we're talking before? I said the streaming inquiry going on at Westminster's absolutely fascinating me, because I've been, like most people, hacked off, for want of a better word, for years. The lack of income you get from your YouTubes and your Spotifys, and if these chancellors can finally get brought to the table and properly remunerate musicians, and labels, that'll be fantastic as far as I'm concerned. The sooner that comes to the forefront, the better. Any other wish list things we want to talk about before we wrap up? Okay, I'm not going to keep you smiling on a screen. I know Louise's got a toddler that's going to be banging our door down any minute. So I'll just wrap up by saying thanks again to Independent Venue Week and Oscar in particular for helping put this together. Thanks again to all the panellists for taking the time out of their busy days to come online and show face. And thanks very much to anybody else that's tuned into the stream. I'll sign off for now, and I'll speak to you all later on. So I'll just let you close it down, Oscar. Thanks very much for everything, guys. Speak to you all soon.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much,
guys.
Thank you.